Back in December, I launched Jukeblocks. That's this website that can generate song structures, and then you can download them as templates for FL Studio or Ableton and more DAWs now, including Logic, which is, that was in the title, so I thought you'd figure that one out. Then, a couple months after the initial launch of Jukeblocks, I released a converter. You could upload an FLP and then turn that into like an Ableton file, and then an Ableton file, upload that and turn it into an FL Studio file. So that's like another sort of side of the website now. I work on it every day, including the weekends. I really do enjoy working on this project. So in this video, I thought I'd talk about the updates, the new features that I've added, show some graphs and some charts. Which is the most popular DAW? What's the most popular genre to download? How many people have downloaded and how many people are using it? And then we'll talk about the future. Where do I go from here? What's the plan next? So let's talk about the new features. Initial first ones from December upwards was opening it up to more DAWs. First, I worked on MIDI because any DAW can work with MIDI. I think the MIDI option has been a little maybe misunderstood, and honestly, it's at the bottom of the list for a reason. It's kind of lame. It doesn't work in the same way as all the other project files do. Each of these notes represent a pattern. So if you see like a note on C5 that represents pattern 1, the note on C sharp 5, then that's pattern 2, and then there's pattern 3, 4, 5, so on. Each note would represent an actual pattern. Like if you go to kick here, you see kick 2, kick 1, kick 1, kick 2. That's what it's trying to represent, these different patterns. So MIDI, meh. But then we have LMMS and Reaper. And these were made by two people that came in contact with me. Reaper, as you can see, it has the same project file and everything, so it has all the tracks. This was created by Sound Emote, who make a bunch of plugins that are free as well, like the Flower Child filter. I definitely think you should check it out, as they did spend the time, especially if you're a Reaper user, they did spend the time to create the downloader for that. We have LMMS2, but yeah, as you can see, this does represent this song structure. The LMMS downloader was created by Specular, so yeah, go give them a follow. Or say thank you if you're one of the LMMS users who make use of that. For all three of you out there. Logic. This is something that has to be zipped up because Logic files are actually like folders. That was like probably also one of the biggest requests, because Logic is one of the big boys along with Ableton and FL Studio, so that was requested for a long time, and it's here. It's finally here. Plus the random synth. Any of the tracks that are instrument things, like a bass line or chord stabs, it will load in a plugin for you. And then, just randomly choose a plugin that you have. I would go make a bass line with Massive, and then I would make a lead with Serum. But how does it know which plugins you have? Because what if you don't have Massive, or you want specific ones instead? Well, you can do that because I've updated the account page. What you want to do is you can just select a plugin that's on the list that you would like to maybe work with. So I have Massive, Serum, Korg, but I can click on these to remove it. Maybe I don't like those plugins. Silence 1, let's do that one. But then when I go back here and I have the random synths option turned on, then I download it, it will give me a new project file, and it'll have those synths. It'll have Massive and Silence 1, as those were the ones that were ticked. Helper notes. This is all in an effort to make things more clear, the names of different instruments and what they mean. What's a shuffle? What's a chopped up shuffle? What's a stab? Question like that. So let's find out. I'm going to download this to FL Studio. So if we go on the master, we'll see, hey, Fruity Notebooks there. We click on that, helper notes. And we have like a brief explanation of the genre that you've downloaded in Ableton. If you have the helper notes option turned on, then if you see a little asterisk, that means that there's a description attached to it to explain it a little bit more. And you can see it if you like hover over the track and then look in the bottom left corner around here in that area, you can see the same helper notes that are in FL Studio, but for Ableton. Thank you very much to Gotno, who pointed this out to me, that this was even possible. And for all the other DAWs, it will just zip up the original project file along with a text file. Then for the converter, which had a few issues, but for the most part, they have been addressed. The volume fader didn't convert 100%. It was very close, but would be off by like a couple decimals. But now it's essentially perfect. I have to thank two people in particular, Fire and Ruben, for like finding the right sort of way to approach the problem. And then more plugins, because initially it was just VST2, but now VST3 and audio units can get converted over as well. Also, this is something I think that was kind of neat for Ableton 11. I made like a little downgrade thing so that you can turn it back to Ableton 10 or even 9 project file. And the biggest recent change, which I think really adds a lot more use to the converter, is automation. You have like 3 options really for automating. It's the fader, volume, the panning, and then literally anything in a plugin should work fine. There we go. The one at the top, that's for pitch. So if you see, like, yeah, it's doing the exact same thing, you know, it goes up and down, and that's what this one's doing, up and down. Yeah, no curves at the moment. I'm sorry if you're a curve fan. Let's talk about stats, because that's fun. Ooh, who's using Jukeblocks and what are they doing? Well, let's find out. Wow, data science, look at me, I'm just such a nerd these days. So this is all in 4 months as well. Since then, there's been 96,000 downloads on the website. Out of all the downloads, what are the most downloaded genres? By far, trap, 10,000 more than the second popular one, which is house. There are also subscriber genres here. Obviously, those are going to be lower because you have to pay to use them, and the vast majority of people aren't subscribed. And then DAWs. FL Studio is by far on top, and then Ableton in the second place. A lot of people wanted the MIDI option. Sorry for everybody who's used it, and it's just not as good as an actual project file. And then this is just, you can see how many people have converted from FLP to ALS and vice versa, from ALS to FLP. And this is so interesting that there are so many more people, more than double, have converted an FLP to ALS than the other way around. Like there's some sort of mass exodus or something. But I think it kind of just goes in hand. More FL Studio users are on the site, so then more of them have FLPs to convert. And then Reaper and LMMS, that's down at the bottom. Yeah. Here's a pie chart of the DAWs over time. So this is on a monthly basis. In the first month, the percentage of FL Studio was huge. And Reaper, I think Reaper's so small just because that came in at the end of the month. So of course it didn't have as much time as all the other DAWs did. But as you can see in January, oh no, it's still pretty small. But then instantly in January, like FL Studio and Ableton are already neck and neck. Either more Ableton users came in over time, but maybe just the FL Studio users just dropped off. But yeah, Ableton's really taken over. What's interesting is that even though I do have the converter, which I think is a very cool project that I should still be working on and improving, a lot of the downloads, the use of Jukeblocks is the actual template, which was the initial idea. So that's good to know. This is a percentage of like the downloads, but this is for actually just for people who use Ableton. So it's obvious that Chap's way popular, but when you get to Ableton, actually house is a little bit more house producers on Ableton than like if I was to change this to FL Studio. Let's run that. So for FL Studio users, Chap and hip hop is the big genre there. What about like LMMS? I'm dying to know. Oh, yeah, about the same. So this is quite, I guess it hurt a little bit, but this is the amount of downloads per day. And as you see, December 2nd was when it's launched, so it shoots up. And that was the most downloads it's ever gotten. I was wondering, like, why is it that there were so many downloads in December and then so little in January and so on? But then I remembered, this is the amount of downloads and not really how many people are using the website. And for the month of December, there was actually, for free users, 50 downloads. And nowadays, there's 10 downloads a month. So for that first month, people could download 5 times as much. So it makes sense that there'd be a lot more downloads because you could download a lot more. So that's why it was so much higher. So I wanted to like specifically find, okay, how many unique users have downloaded per month. But still, no, it's pretty obvious that there has been, well, April shouldn't really count because it was just 3 days. So of course it's going to be lower, but the rest definitely was highest in December. No doubt about that. It really peaked. And I'm sure it'll go back up from this video as like, oh, there's new features, oh, there's Logic. You know, a lot of Logic users will be using that, so hopefully that will like push it back up. What I do want to see though is like over time that is the average like lows getting higher, because that would imply that there is a usual user base that is increasing over time. That's the goal anyways. How are we going to make sure that that happens? Essentially, it's just by making the features that exist better and adding more features. I think that's really the only way to make it better. It's just making a better product, really. Eurodance is almost always like the least downloaded one, which is a shame because I'm rooting for Eurodance. That's my baby. I put a lot of work into that one as well. So as it's like Oh, in February, just a sliver, a tiny sliver. I think that one, along with the totally not Animal Crossing's genre. Totally not. That's just a coincidence that it's named that. I'm gonna make those ones free. Hopefully that helps give a boost to the Eurodance economy. I have a cool plan. This idea that I have combines the two sides of Jukeblocks into like one new third thing. So what I'll do is take like a song structure you have, just imagine that this is like a finished song or whatever, with all your notes, your bass lines, and all your effects and automation or whatever. You upload it, and then it will like rearrange it. So now your intro is maybe shorter and your breakdown's longer, and you have different elements or less elements or more elements in your chorus and drop. But then it wouldn't just need a whole project file like this. You could, in theory, just do it with 8 bars. So let's say you have a song, you like a chord progression and a bass line and a beat to go for it, but you don't know how to progress it from that point on. It will like work it out and create the full arrangement for you from the initial 8 bars. But then in concept, that's the next goal. And I also would like a randomize as well. In fact, I actually do have one. It will randomize the faders and the panning, or that if you want it to. What I'd like is to have this effect synths. You could have it so that the knobs in here change about. I think that would add a cool complexity. Again, kind of like a remix. Those are the concepts, those are the ideas that I would like to work on. But yeah, thanks for sticking around, and thanks for everybody who's like subscribed and supported Jukeblocks or just even used it. Thank you. Everybody's like given feedback, and Jukeblocks is better off for it. Let me know. What do you think? What is your thoughts on the direction and the ideas, or where does you think it really needs to improve? And hopefully it only gets better. I'll see you again in a video not too long from now. Take care and goodbye.